Here we go with another tutorial. This is going to be really quick. I'll try to just show you some basics about materials and mapping coordinates, in particular mapping coordinates, what they are and how they can be used and manipulated to your advantage. Okay, for instance, let's say we have ourselves a little box. We can tell by default it is generating mapping coordinates. But what does that mean? So let's say I'm going to go into my material editor, and in here there are some things that we need to be familiar with as we are doing our mapping. Main things, there's a lot here, and we can spend hours and hours talking about this, but the most important things are knowing that here's our slots, knowing that we can view other slots by moving this around. For example, right now let's just go ahead and we have our first one, material 01, assign material to selection, and now it's on there. Okay, we can change basic colors with those materials, and this is different than just changing the color right here. As you see, it's shown purple, but yet it's a little more fuchsia here. What this purple is the wireframe. Okay, the wireframe for the object is in purple, and this right here is showing you the next object to be created is going to use this color. Okay, so anyway, some other things to know. Like I said, we have our basic colors. Is the object going to be illuminated or not? Okay, this is as if it is a light source. So now it can be, like a light bulb or something. Some other things: specularity, really specular, really glossy. Okay, these are things that are very important to know and be familiar with when you're trying to map something. Okay, one of the simplest ways that we can actually texture an object would be by throwing a material on the surface, map on the surface, like a bitmap. Quickest way to access that is this little box next to the diffuse, which we click and we see that it opens up our material map browser. Okay, and we have, these are all maps that we can use. And obviously we're just going to double click on bitmap. Okay, and in here let's go find some images. So I'm going to go into our program files, Autodesk, and we'll go inside Max 08, and we're looking for maps. Okay, these should be installed in every version of Max that you have. The C drive, program files, Autodesk, Max, Maps. Okay, CC. This is where you can access them, and these are the basic ones that come with Max always. And let's see, we'll use this one for now. So we've now have, go back up to the parent level. We're back where we were. If I open up my maps rollout, I can see that we have that particular bitmap loaded into the diffuse channel, and I see it here, but I don't see it here. All I gotta do is hit show map in viewport. Okay, so now we are looking at our object textured. Okay, but let's say that this object was actually altered. Okay, notice it starts to screw up a little bit. And let's say I'm just going to do a real quick alteration on this thing. Pull this down, and now I'm going to select these polygons and I'm going to extrude them out, local normal, about like that. As we can tell, our texture coordinates are definitely jacked up. Okay, so because we've altered it, we need to apply new mapping coordinates, and that is by using the UVW Map modifier. And here's our basic options. Okay, planar, which has it set to by default, is Z, and we can see that it is projecting it from this angle straight down, which is why we don't have anything here. Projecting it completely from the side, which is why we don't have anything here. And X is projecting it from this side, which is why we don't have anything here. Okay, so that's planar. Cylindrical, obviously, is good for cylinder objects. Spheres for spherical objects. This is a box, so we're going to go with box. And we can also do our alignments here as well, and Z works out pretty good. Okay, but this is we can do a lot more to it even still with our basic parameters. And one of the things that we can do, one of the things you need to know, is that if we go into sub-object, this gizmo, which can be moved, rotated, and scaled, okay, controls a lot of the same parameters that we have here. Our width, height, okay, can all be accessed by scaling the gizmo. Okay, the tiling, as we see, is going to give us a look like that. We can achieve that same look by scaling the box down. And we can come down to our alignment and say reset to get it back to where it was. Okay, so I'm going to, looking at my modeling here in this object, I want this to be lined up like that. Okay, but I can see that it's starting to repeat here, which isn't really a bad thing, but just to be kind of safe, I'm going to scale this up a little bigger than it is, so that when I move this up, I have a little better control over how it's positioned. Okay. Now obviously, as wide as this is, it's not that deep. Okay, but in order for the texture to kind of flow around the same way, it should be. So if I look at this, and if it is, let's say, 130 wide, should be 130 long. And I can move this until I see a position that I like. Maybe I like the spot on this side. And I can move it on the Y to see if maybe I like it like that. So I've got this little niche right there. And obviously we have the top view. So the only thing we can see of it is this. And I notice that if I rotate this, let's say I rotate it 90, this looks the same here, and this looks the same here. The only thing that's different now is how it's projecting there. So rotate that, and we could pull that off a little bit, and could just go with that. So now we have a box that has been mapped correctly. Okay, it's really good to know. It's really simple, but you know, it's really important to know how powerful our UVW mapping modifier can be with some simple materials. One last thing that I want to show you before I move on. I'm going to go in and put another bitmap And let's say, just for example, we'll use this one. Okay, I can also apply materials, different materials to different sides of my polygons. So for example, let's say I come down here and I select on this entire top piece, okay, and using my material editor, I'm going to assign that material show map in viewport. Okay, so now if I get out of polygon, you see that, notice that it jumps because we're at the edit poly level, and unless we turn show map in viewport, we're not going to see our mapping coordinates. Okay, notice that there it is applied when it's screwed up, and there it is fixed. Okay, because it's using just one UV mapping modifier to control the look of it. Okay, let's say this is kind of what we like, but we don't want this here. Okay, we can also make some adjustments to the object right here. I can move it down by using my U and V angles. Okay, I can, but it only really starts being of use. Look, I can almost pull this yellow on both sides. Hey, there you go. Kind of like that. Okay, so we can make adjustments to it. Here, we can rotate it, say even 90. And we can offset the entire material this way as well. Fair enough. Okay, so while we can make these adjustments both in the material slot using a UVW mapping modifier, and we can also in the material editor adjust particulars about the material, like we could tile it. Okay, we get all kinds of looks with still just using one UV mapping. It's, you know, it's not tiled any, but we're just tiling the material itself. What else? Other things that we can do, and I wanna, let's see if we can find one more. We'll do that one. Okay. If we notice UV mapping modifier is looking for map channel 1. And in our material editor, this material is set to map channel 1, and so is this one. Well, what if this one was set to 2? We see it's no longer showing up here, but what we can do is apply a second UVW map and have this one set to map channel 2. And now here we have an interactive way that we can control just that material's placement. And let's say we wanted something like that, whatever. And I could right click, go rename, and we'll call this road stripe. Okay, something named particular to what it controls. This one is going to be concrete. So, and we could tile this guy a whole lot. There's all kinds of things that we can do to the texturing of this object at this point. We can keep applying UVW mapping modifiers. We can control the mapping inside the material editor. Like I said, the biggest things that I want you to be focused on is just making new materials by going to a new slot. Obviously, also, we go to the top level, we could name this road stripe, and this could be, you know, concrete or whatever. But as far as just making new ones, we go to a new slot, diffuse, add a bitmap, let's do this one. Now we see it in here. We can apply and show, and it's using map channel 1, so that means that it's going to be used in this one. Or if we set it to map channel 2, it's going to use the second one that we have. So those are some of the basic principles behind materials, not even materials, just mapping coordinates. The most simple, basic ways of mapping your objects are mainly affected and used this way. And I just want to take a little time to show you that. One of the next videos we're going to get into is going to be our unwrap, using the unwrap modifier to get very particular about how these objects are mapped. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up for this time, and keep modeling and keep texturing.